I'm Zoe Horn. I'm a PhD at the Institute for Culture and Society at Western Sydney University, and I am part of the ARC funded project, the Geopolitics of Automation. And I'm sorry, I'm a bit throaty today, so if you can't understand me, apologies.
I'm Michael Richardson. I'm at the University of New South Wales. I'm also part of the ADM+S Centre. I'm in media and cultural studies, so definitely not a sociologist of work. And our paper, in kind of, I guess, a stark contrast to Lauren's wonderful and close analysis, is now going to do exactly what she suggested we should not, and zoom out to the
technical sublime. Sorry. Okay, we had a little video to start, but there's no sound, so we'll jump right in. So we plan for the future, and the history of the future might very well begin with the history of plans and their representations. Scrutinizing plans and their production tells us not only about the material conditions of the past, but reveal the politics they schematize. Our paper contemplates the histories and politics of the digital twin, understood as scenario planning environments. A digital twin is a system composed of a virtual model and a physical asset, environment, or process with two-way information flow. Digital twins are designed to proactively simulate and analyze resources and performance data to shape and even implement decisions across time. Digital twins aim to transform the past, present, and future operating life of their subjects into parameters that can be planned and managed in real time. Here we have a little vignette. In a 2022 video, an Amazon Robotics VP runs through a demonstration of their full-scale digital warehouse twin. After shots of the material warehouse, we see its interiors staged across different CAD programs. Full fidelity realism, they say, visualizations in split screen with real-world warehouse sites. We hear about the weeks of time saved on robotic training and optimization thanks to the twins' coordination and endless simulation capacity. But in the final scenes, focus shifts to overhead videos of workers in optimized environments. As their bodies move from shelf to shelf, it becomes clear that the digital twin generates a space-time in which both packages and labor are always subject to, quote, continuous integration with continuous delivery. Soon, the digital twin worker might be composed of a human, a digital counterpart, and an interchange component facilitating real-time monitoring and feedback to the worker as they perform warehouse activities. Think barcode scanners or augmented reality glasses. Continuously engaging with a robotic environment, workers' bodies become instruments through which digital twins converge planning and action.
To understand the ambition of digital twins, our paper traces the development of techniques of simulation from labor modeling to Cold War military scenario planning to industrial digital twins. We locate the digital twin within the digital transformation of the planning scenario and examine how the twins scenarios constitute new operations of computational capitalism. We propose understanding the digital twin as an epistemological technique that has emerged within a specific historical conjuncture and in association with a particular attitude and exercise of power. The philosopher Jean Baudrillard warned of an emerging hyperreality in which simulation precedes only itself, such that the image no longer holds any reference to the real. But digital twins suggest something quite different, an inversion of power between simulation and the real, in which the virtual of the digital twin takes command over the actual materiality of the worlds in which we work and live. Workers have long been the subject of novel forms of representation by visualization. In the early 20th century, the image of the worker would become the central instrument of industrial planning among early scientific management practitioners, most famously Frank and Lillian Galbraith. But while the Galbraith's models were very influential in the emergence of assembly line manufacturing and the biometric management of laboring bodies, physical scale models have also long played an important role in industrial planning exercises. We want to think specifically about the scale model because it's a starting point for considering the production of modern labor within the parameters of model time space required for planning functions. Plan relief, for example, use the contingencies of a mutable territory to construct parameters for human action. In early industrial planning, physical models generated new perspectives of production space, assisting managers to plan daily production schedules, schedule labor, make resource planning adjustments, and manage uncertainty around changes in production. Parametricized 3D modeling captures and stores planned worlds, figuring environments, objects, and even people within an informatically structured, calculable ontology. Digital twins leverage this information architecture to create a kind of cooperative decision-making platform for planners, cooperation between computer and person. High fidelity networked models described by centrally stored data that instantiate a technological single source of truth. And this is a powerful fantasy to coordinate decision-making across vast distances and timescales. Computer simulations were first used to study and test management decisions, and computer modeling became the managerial equivalent of wind tunnel tests for model planes. Today, digital twins combine statistical and immersive modeling with machine learning, abundant data, and high-speed processing to promise simulation rates and dynamic feedback loops capable of iterating near infinite futures. In global logistics, digital twins supercharge the post-Fordist integrated factory, offering total oversight across geographically diffuse warehouses stretched across neoliberal supply chains. Labor is thus subject to potentially boundless simulation exercises, with experimentation and testing open to a global network of managers and stakeholders. The modeling of labor in the digital twin is now inseparable from the logistical organization of production and consumption.
In the Cold War, scenario planning merged with statistical systems analysis to transform long-range thinking for militaries and businesses. This is obviously a still from Dr. Strange that we couldn't find. Anyways, historical models were inadequate to nuclear war, an event which no one had lived through. In their early incarnation at the RAND Corporation, scenarios were a kind of parallel track to statistical foresight and forecasting. Scenario planning sought to game, workshop, and tell stories in order to plan possible futures. It proposed a creative intervention into the planning of warfare and its necessary logistical infrastructures. Scenario planning departed from forecasting to embrace uncertainty rather than trying to reduce or eliminate it, reaching beyond the historical or most obvious trends to incorporate uncertainty as a factor in prioritizing management actions. The scenario was always designed to coordinate and secure the future and entrench the established power complex specifically within a context of uncertainties and complexities. At the same time, systems analysis emerged from wartime operations research to provide a statistical, scientific form of rational knowledge and decision-making, one that spurred and responded to new electronic computational technologies. Despite the horror of America's statistically driven war in Vietnam, the dream of taming uncertainty proved seductive to business. Herman Kahn's Hudson Institute became a key transmission point, bringing scenario planning and systems analysis to Shell and the business world, among others. Systems analysis, with its reification of the statistical and abstraction of the scenario, would become core to the technocratic capacities behind the rise of neoliberalism as a governing logic of capitalism. But systems analysis leaned a long way into statistics and accounting, and in doing so excluded and occluded the richness that could arise from the collaborative storytelling and future forecasting of human-centered scenario planners. Today, a multiverse mindset is back in. Digital twins extend the techno-scientific rationale of future governance, but they also propose an approach to models that is developed collaboratively over time with multiple partners, priorities, and stories feeding into the future they seek to realize. Once we understand digital twins as a system for the planning of logistics and labor, the return of the scenario to pride of place alongside statistics is impossible to avoid. Logistics brings together the military and commercial themes we've examined so far. War and trade are deeply logistical. Logistics accounts for the space of action between production and consumption. It emphasizes the flow, management, and delivery of systems and processes. Digital twins work to optimize logistical labor. collapsing gaps between simulation and actuality, and extending the reach of the operative simulation through embedded computation and ubiquitous remote sensors.
Ports function as crucial nodes in global trade infrastructures and as key nodes as well in the logistical media apparatus that connects the production of goods to their distribution via warehouses and last mile networks. Ambitious projects such as the digital twin of Rotterdam, Europe's largest port by tonnage, are appealing but complex objects to grasp. So more readily revealing is a project by the British Columbia Maritime Employers Association, or BCMEA, which represents companies that employ longshoremen at ports in Vancouver and surrounds. So following unexpected and unpredictable labour shortages, BCMEA commenced development of a digital twin of longshore labour with the aim of optimising labour planning processes ranging from training to shift allocations to work restrictions to port expansion. On a typical day, members of the International Longshore Workers Union manually flip their board over in the dispatch room to indicate they're available to work. These boards are part of the negotiated, social, and highly organised process for dispatch to shifts within the Longshore Union system. The Digital Twin project aims to transform longshore labour dispatch into an optimised, responsive, and potentially autonomous system governed by decisions induced via scenario-based simulation. So the graphical user interface of the twin is crude but instructive. It realizes the combination of mapping, resource accounting, and system demand imagined by Cold War scenario planners, albeit in a rather different context than thermonuclear war. Using a form of machine learning called agent-based modeling, changes in rating of workers, which could be achieved through training, or changes in restrictions, which could be achieved through review of individual worker capacities, and other parameters are modeled in this environment. So rather than meet the port's needs in the present, the twin aims to reduce the unpredictability of the system, and in doing so, subordinate labour and the workers whose bodies and lives are at stake to the exigencies of the system as model. Whether applied to retail, warehouses, ports, or the bodies of workers, digital twins seem to almost exclusively operate as mechanisms for the optimization of labour within logistical systems on behalf of neoliberal capitalism. Within this impoverished vision, the governance of the future is primarily about the determination of cost-benefit ratios and the reshaping of labour and its milieus to those ends. But it would be a mistake to simply conceive of the digital twin as merely another statistical technique of neoliberal governmentality. In setting the scenario alongside sensors and simulation, digital twins reveal a new capacity for inverting the hierarchy between managerial planning and the material world of labour. In doing so, they seek to harness uncertainty itself as a site of value that can be extracted from labour. And so in the digital twin, uncertainty could take the form of supply chain or labour market volatility, but it might also reside in the very corporeality of the human body. Thanks.